Welcome to Jasiri. It's Tuesday, and as always, we're excited to be your companion for bold conversations, fresh perspectives, and fearless storytelling. Now, every day we bring you the stories that matter, the ones that spark dialogue, the ones that challenge the status quo, and remind us that change starts with awareness. Today is no different. We're taking a closer look at the headlines, diving beneath the surface of the biggest stories and connecting them to the real lives and real struggles of people across Nigeria, Africa, and the world. Now, whether you're tuning in from home, catching us on the move, or already deep into your day, Jasiri is here to inform, inspire, and invite you to think differently, to question, to hope, and to act. I don't want to say let's get to your answer, but first.
Yes. But first, I like it. But first, yesterday, Justice Njideka Nwosuyeheme of the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja sentenced Peter Nwachukwu, husband of the lead gospel singer Osinachi Nwachukwu, to death by hanging. The court found him guilty of culpable homicide in connection with his wife's death on the 8th of April 2022. Nwachukwu faced a 23-count charge, including culpable homicide, spousal battery, and child cruelty. And during the trial, the prosecution presented 17 witnesses, including 2 of the couple's children, and then submitted 25 documents as evidence. The defense called 4 witnesses and tendered 4 exhibits. So after evaluating the evidence, the judge concluded that the prosecution had sufficiently proven its case. In addition to the death sentence for culpable homicide, Nwachukwu received various other sentences, 2 years imprisonment each on counts 2, 3, 8, 9, 12, and 13, and 18. Now, 6 months on count 10, 3 years on count 11, and fines of 500,000 naira and 200,000 naira on count 6 and 7, respectively. So this verdict marks the culmination of a high-profile case that began with Osinachi's death, initially attributed to throat cancer, but later was linked to alleged domestic abuse. This case sparked national outrage and calls for justice, leading to the federal government's prosecution of Nwachukwu.
Now, also, it's important that we highlight the tragic death of Adijat Adisa, a graduate of Lagos State University whose passing has left her family and community in mourning. Her mother, Bilikisu Adisa, alleges that Adijat was killed and used for ritual purposes by her boyfriend, Dian. According to Bilikisu, Adijat had been in a relationship with Dian, whom she had met only once. She became suspicious after noticing scars on her daughter's body and advised her to end the relationship. On February 26 this year, Adijat failed to show up at work. Later that day, Dian informed Bilikisu that they had had a misunderstanding during which Adijat fainted at his house. Upon visiting Dian's residence in Abule Egba, Bilikisu was told by Dian's father that her daughter had died. The case was reported to the Miran police station, where officers discovered charms at Dian's residence. Bilikisu alleges that her daughter was killed for ritual purposes, citing evidence such as a bucket containing blood and visible scars on Adijat's head and hand observed at the mortuary. She has since transferred the case to the State Criminal Investigation Department at Panti, seeking justice for her daughter. This incident has sparked outrage and calls for a thorough investigation to ensure that those responsible are held accountable. So as we were planning for today's show and we had gotten the news that Osinachi's husband had been sentenced to death by hanging, this story popped up during my research, and I was like, yeah, we have justice for somebody in a case from 2022, but there are hundreds, it's probably not thousands of Nigerian women who are victims of what we call femicide, a conversation we've had numerous times here on Jasiri, and this is just one of the latest cases. Before we talk, we do have reactions to the conversation, to the sentencing of Osinachi's husband. Let's get those reactions and then we'll talk. I'm yet to understand why this woman stayed till she died. Why did she allow herself to be killed? She'd have walked away with her life intact and stay alive for her kids. All these things won't bring her back to life. It's heartbreaking that it had to come to this. We must do more as a society to detect and intervene in domestic abuse situations early instead of waiting until tragedies happen. Finally, something good about the day. You can't maltreat your wife as a slave to prove you're a man. Report domestic violence, Biko. Hope other men will learn from this. Treat your wife right and watch and see the blessings that will come from it. May God guide and help us all. It's well. Well, it really isn't. It's a pity. The children shouldn't lose both parents just like that. Punish the man, send him to prison for 10 years at the most, and release later. Nigerian judges self on our own too much. Wow.
Just in Paris.
An eye for an eye will surely leave everyone blind. What about the children? Those of you saying for the sake of the kids, if he really cared about them, would he have sent their mother to her early grave? Nigerians shaking my head. Death by hanging? Who's going to take care of their children? What kind of harsh punishment is this? It's okay to spend minimum of 5 years in jail. Which one be death by hanging? Okay. I don't know who I want to start with because every single one of the ladies on the table was having what I probably would call a visceral reaction as we were reading those.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, you're across.
I think we have a fundamental problem. What I don't expect, it's like being in a class, you don't expect all the students to pass exams and to pass that course.
You don't expect all the students to be at the same level.
I tell you. When I hear some things sometimes on social media, I'm wowed, really. Like Tolu said, there are visual reactions on this table. What do you mean if he spent 5 years in prison and that would be enough? What do you mean? What do Nigerians mean by saying that? So what happens to the children? I get it when they say, yes, fate has caught up to, justice has caught up to him now, and it is done. The truth is, when she was there and you were beating your wife in the presence of the children, didn't you think what would happen to her? Now she's gone. I'm just happy that, and I think a lot of Nigerians also can lean into this, that there's been justice served in this matter, because so many of these situations occur and there's nothing like justice or resolution or something like, what do you call it, closure on the family side. We lost Osinachi. Everybody felt it, whether you knew her personally, you were somehow impacted by her music, by the honesty. And I was reading something somewhere and someone said, now you could understand the pain in her voice when she would sing, because she sang from the bottom of her tummy. Everybody can attest to that. So for me, I'm just happy that there has been justice. I'm not even painting anything nice, or I'm happy that this man has been found culpable, responsible, and we as a society, we need to do better. People said she was in church, she was a church person, she loved God. It is the same church that made her sit down there. If the church had intervened early, we would have avoided all of this. But now she's gone.
So, I mean, it's very clear from the reactions we took from yesterday's story and today's story that not a lot of mentally ill people are roaming the streets. They are now on social media, because it's crazy to see the reactions that people give to these kind of instances. I could have almost predicted that one person was going to say that. I did not know that almost all the comments was going to be how about the children. If the roles were reversed, if it was a woman who did that, I don't think anybody would be asking her about the children. I think that many people will be like, why would a woman do so to her husband? Such a wicked world, such a cruel world. I think that we need to understand that if drastic measures are not taken regarding these issues, then it's going to continue. Yep. This issue dragged since 2022. There's still one that is pending about the young pastor who killed his girlfriend, who allegedly killed his girlfriend. We've not heard anything about it. And then there's another case of it. If you keep letting things go because of certain circumstances, like the children who anybody can take care of, then we're not going to get out of this circle. That's for sure.
Honestly, I just think the moral fabric of our society is totally shredded. Yep. If you say torn, that means you can still use needle and thread to sew it. I think it's in shreds because people no longer think rationally. Everybody just thinks on the surface. We're not looking at the deep issues that are there. This man abused his children. He beat his children even with his wives. So imagine if the children go back to him. Don't you know that he will always take out
his frustration?
He went to jail because their mother died. What kind of life, quality of life do you think this kind of wicked man will be able to give the children? I know it's very tough for the children. Honestly, I am sad for them because I know they might be thrust into the hands of families that probably don't want them because of all the issues that have surrounded these children now. Imagine if they go to their father's side. The father's side too might actually look at them and say, you are the cause
of why our brother is in jail
and why he killed your mother.
And then you go to the mother side also. It can be that
it
your
can
father...
be like, I already have too much of my own children and challenges to now be forced with the upkeep of these children. So honestly, when I look at the table, there's no win anywhere. And I know if they become wards of the state, it might not
That's even worse.
It might not be good also. This is something that should make everybody cry. This is something that should never have happened in the first place. These are things we forestall so that we don't get into these other things that we can't solve. If the man had behaved well with his wives, they will be together with their children. Now they have put their children in jeopardy. The woman is late. The man is in prison. There is no win on this table. There's nothing to laugh about.
So I want to take a few things. I'll start, I think, with the very first tweet that talked about, what was that first tweet? Oh, it's escaped me now. But basically, at the end of the day, why did she stay? Yes. And that's a conversation we need to continue to have. Staying is not as easy as anybody thinks. I'm yet to understand why this woman stayed till she died. Why did she allow herself to be killed? That, in a way, is even putting blame on the victim, not blame in the hands of the perpetrator, who not only killed her, but apparently had been abusing her to this point. So we need to understand why women stay. There are social structures in place that make it important for women to stay. Don't forget that she was a gospel musician. Imagine if she had left. Let's not act like we don't know our society.
They will
Imagine if
judge
she
her,
had left.
ostracize her in a church.
Ostracize her from the places that she went to sing and minister. And apparently it was her ministration that was helping to upkeep the family.
And probably she would say, okay, I mean, but maybe one day he will change.
He will change.
You know, because you're a woman
do you know how
of the
many
faith.
people were probably telling her to pray for him, enter the war room and pray for him, pray and make sure you're a good wife, and then
fight
pray
on
for
your
him.
knees. You're
Fight on your knees.
A woman
she
upholds
probably
her
died
home.
on her knees. So let's not act like we don't know why women stay. Research and data also tells us that the most dangerous time for victims of domestic violence is when they attempt to leave, and that most victims of domestic violence do not succeed in leaving until after the 7th time that they have tried to leave. So let's not make it seem like we don't understand why she stayed. We all live in this country. We all know how single mothers are judged. We know how divorced mothers are judged. Let's not pretend like we don't know. That's one. Second thing I want to address is this conversation around, oh, she should do 10 years only. How do you equate a life? Even the Bible tells you that societies need to have justice. It's justice. His sentencing is justice. Will it be carried out is a completely different thing, because there seems to be an unspoken moratorium on death punishment and death sentences being carried out in Nigeria. That's a separate conversation. But it needs to be done. This case needs to see the light of day, and there needs to be consequences. Why? Let me show you the statistics on femicide in Nigeria since the beginning of 2025. We have those slides. In 2025 already, we've had over 43 cases, at least 43 cases of femicide in Nigeria since January. 13 cases reported, marking a 240% increase compared to January 2024. In February, it was 16 cases. In March, it was 14 cases, spread across the country. We can give you a list of names of people, and this is not an entire list. Let's share what happened in January, what happened in February, what happened in March. You guys remember Salome now? The one who was beheaded by her fiance, Christiana Idowu. Their families have not gotten justice. Some of these cases, in a way, have stalled, and some of them are slowly grinding through the justice system. But please let us not pretend we do not know why women end up staying. They'll tell them that they stay for the children. It's our society. They'll tell you to bear it. Wait until the children are grown. Bear it until they grow, and then you can leave. How many women have died staying for the children? That's February. There's also March, and this is not a conclusive list. So please.
I have goose pimples watching, just like we will tell you. We don't like to report statistics. These are lives. You know, for every life that is loved, there is a family attached to it. There's a community that lost someone. So it's not just an isolated death we're talking about. They have ties.
And in that statistics, there are even some who were killed with their children.
They're pregnant with one of the most dangerous times for victims of domestic violence is when they're pregnant. It tends to increase the likelihood of them being killed if they're previous victims of domestic violence. What are you saying?
Honestly, these are people who, especially the men, they just simply refuse to improve themselves in terms of work, in terms of financial provision, in terms of, you just sit down there and focus on the woman, and in your mind, you have this warped idea that why you're not progressing is because she is holding you back and she is moving forward, therefore she is stunting you. And that begins to build up into rage and into resentment, and before you know it, that's it.
Honestly,
look at the man in Anambra State that set his wife on fire.
Men's headquarters, that young man that comes in. Men need to be trained and retrained. There's a lot of unlearning that some men need to do. Because these are things that has been with them for so long that it has become a part of them that sometimes they don't even know that they are being evil again.
I think
when a man slaps you and he doesn't feel any pain.
Aside men being trained, I think they need to be shown, because there's certain things that they just, because the society has made them believe when they're married to someone, it is their responsibility to isolate them from the rest of their family and friends. And so when they start to do that, the society makes them believe that it is well within their rights to make them stop talking to their friends, stop talking to their families.
Stop working.
Stop working. I think that it is, we need to educate women, and this is not me advocating for divorce, but educate them on the possibilities of living.
Yes.
Because you hear men say things like, where do you want to go?
Yes.
What will you do after
So
men need to be shown these possibilities for them to know that the world doesn't revolve around them after marriage.
No, it doesn't.
You know, there's a quote I saw yesterday, and I think it said that a working man comes home to a cooked meal. A working woman comes home to cook the meal. That the issue was not that women became independent, but that men are not independent. Let's think about that.
What's on Mabo? Anyway, this is heavy.
Because we're still doing everything for them.
I didn't even know it was going to be this heavy in the morning. I got into the show very happy, but now
I know.
all my happy energy is just totally gone. Watching the statistics and everything, this is something that we all need to take seriously. Let's take a break here, because when we return, economics and public affairs analyst Paul Alaje is going to be joining us for a conversation in a country where Ponzi schemes and failed investments have left millions distrustful of the system. How do we begin to rebuild confidence in our financial institutions? He is going to be helping us unpack what really it takes for us to get our trust back as Nigerians in the financial system that we have, and what role that you, me, and the government has to play to make this happen. All this is coming up just in a moment.
You're watching Jasiri. Remember, you can follow us on all social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. So our guest today joined us via Zoom last week as we looked at the crash of the CBEX platform. Now he's here with us in person for what I'm sure will not be the last time. Our guest is Paul Alaje. He's the chief economist at SPM Professionals. Paul, welcome to Jasiri.
Thank you so very much for having me. A beautiful morning to you.
Thank you for
Why
coming.
did you call his
positive
name fraudulently? I just wanted to chip that in.
And it worked, so we actually entered. Let's continue. Time is never
all right. So when you graced us with your intellect last week on Jasiri, we'll look at the crash of CBEX. We'll look at the issues around why Ponzi schemes seem to thrive in Nigeria. And I remember seeing that list of about, I think it was 30-something schemes. God. And we're just in shock. Even after the end of the show, the conversation still took us out of the studio. But since that conversation, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has declared 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman, wanted for their involvement in the CBEX scheme. Okay, so we have a few questions regarding that, and we wanted to touch base with you.
So I'm going to pick up from there. Now, the new investment and securities, I'm scared to do this because I know they'll follow me. Okay. All right, so the new Investment and Securities Act of 2024 promised tougher penalties and broader powers for regulators. In practical terms, my question is, how is this act meant to protect Nigerians from Ponzi schemes like CBEX and the ones that we have fallen for?
Okay, thank you so much once again. Thank you so much once again. To Ponzi scheme, there shall be no end.
Mr. Alaje, we need to start to write your name words on marble.
You've seen CBEX. I remember I started following and also to do research about this for Mana. Nobody knew that we will all be victim when Pennywise came. After that, we saw a word solution. Between Pennywise and word solution, we saw over 100 of Ponzi schemes. And I think where I started coming out was during MMM in 2016.
Oh, yes.
When MMM came out in 2016, from 2016 till date, Nigeria has lost over 4 trillion naira. To be charitable, if you use the exact exchange rate and you make provision for that, we're talking of over 8 trillion. 8 trillion, by the way, is bigger than the budget of a number of states in Nigeria. That is what Nigerians as hope against hope that they were going to get back in returns. So people continue to put their money in Ponzi, hoping that something miracle will happen.
That will be the exception.
That yes, that they will not be the last person. And you know, everybody said, let me just commit this crime. After all, for those people that are religious, don't worry, rapture will not happen tomorrow. Nobody knows. The same way nobody knows when Ponzi will crash, apart from the originator of Ponzi. And there are several reasons why they crash their Ponzi by themselves. Some, they have no option but to crash it. Some, they think they have enough capital, it's time to run. So they acquire different passports in another country, they declare citizenship, and they've used money that we say is not there in Nigeria, rip everybody off, and go to another territory and start living normal life. That is what they do. So it's deliberate, it's what our people know. Now, answering your question, ma'am, you ask as they empower people. Before now, SEC will just arrest people, at best go to EFCC, EFCC will look at whether they have schooled or not. You know, different agencies will try. But now, someone that has committed crime can now have served jail term according to our laws. And it's also to pay, I think about 10 years jail term or so. Then it's also supposed to pay some amount of money. I think about, yes, you pay some amount. Now, they can also go after the money that he has stolen, whether it is in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, and get that money out. So that is what it has been done. But the challenge is that I don't know how well funded the agencies are, such as Security and Exchange Commission, to combat on this. The DG Security and Exchange Commission have continued to say, because I think he is more savvy with technology that people are using, to say that he's going to do everything possible to fight for Nigerians and to protect them. And so that, I think, is what has empowered them. But I also think that to speak to government, we need to empower these agencies, Central Bank of Nigeria, Security and Exchange Commission, EFCC, ICPC, empower them, allocate more funds to education so that they can provide education for Nigerians. A lot of Nigerians don't have information. What we are speaking, even some part of Gombe, we call it Dongon Turunchi, big grammar that people don't understand. So we need to break it down for them in their local languages. Maybe
NOA is missing from that.
I was going to say.
This is NOA is missing from that.
Yeah, NOA is very important. And I think I should even underline it, because NOA should, beyond, I know they've started some new things, you know. I think NOA have started some new awareness. I think starting with the last administration, it was not like that. But you see, beyond that, the new DG, speaking in different languages, Igbo, Hausa, I've seen them do that. But they need to also have a drama series. Because people seem to remember drama and connect with drama. They also need to put it on billboards. They also need to put it on OOH. Sing about it, you know, connect with some of the Nigerian best, you know, musicians or artists.
Get ambassadors.
And all of those. And I tell you, it will spread like fire. I remember when I was younger, why did people eat aroso and ofada? You know, it was a musician. Small aroso, big aroso. You know, I think barista also. It turned out to music such that people forgot Elisha rice that we were used to, and we feel that if you are not eating aroso, you must eat ofada. We never knew that ofada is the same ofada rice that is not prepared in Abeokuta, because of the power of music that at that time the owners of the company that are producing rice partner with a local musician that most Nigeria, especially in the southern part of Nigeria, respected. Think about it. For you that seems to love NOA, and I do too, but your level of love for them may be more than mine. We need to talk to them to educate them, because they have that responsibility.
See, there's so many. They're in my crosshairs. But Paul, you've answered the second part of my question, which was about existing institutions being equipped, but it's specific to the first part now. We're seeing more scams dressed up in crypto buzzwords. blockchain, Tether, cryptocurrency, give me a wallet. People are seeing that, but they don't understand it. But it's fancy. And like with CBEX, they had this really nice platform and everything. Yeah. Is it time for Nigeria to have a dedicated digital asset watchdog? I know that SEC has something in its regulations about it's being able to oversee digital currencies. There was a bit of back and forth between SEC and CBN a few years ago when they did successfully ban trading in cryptos in Nigeria. I think that ban is still on, but somehow Nigeria continues to be in the top five of countries that have that are doing cryptocurrency. But is it time for us to have a dedicated digital asset watchdog? Government can't stop this train. It has left the station. So do they admit that they're possibly wrong, regularize, and get a watchdog so that we can protect our people?
Well, I think it was even wrong for us to announce after ban in the first instance of what we don't understand. And I think that with the new law that SEC has, they have roles to play in crypto assets right now. So if you're going to run a crypto program, I think you also need to be regulated by Security and Exchange Commission, which I think is fine. I have never put my money in crypto. I have never put my money in MMM and all of those things.
I don't understand it.
So if you don't understand it, don't do it. But if you feel it has been mentioned to you so strictly and you want to be sure, just ensure that it is registered. Now, having a watchdog is very important and very critical. When you look at how much Nigeria lost, and to be very fair on government this time, some of the devaluation we saw was because people were so afraid, they prefer to convert their money to cryptocurrency, which in a way, it's a currency that combated with Naira at the time, because you're keeping in digital assets. You are saying that you need more of cryptocurrency, whether in dollars or pounds or whatever unit you want to use to convert it to. You are demanding for that against your local currency. What will happen to Naira? The value will drop. What will happen to other currency, especially because of the algorithm that exists among this country, the value will go up. So eventually we saw the value of Naira continue to nosedive until we saw what NSA did by arresting one of the crypto chief, Kingpin, in Nigeria. And we saw that there were other options that government put on the table, devalued Naira, a milestone devaluation. After that, we saw government coming back now in Central Bank of Nigeria, according to the statement made by the special advisor to the president on economy, that there seems to be some level of intervention of some sort, if you like, managed float that is happening in the economy. Imagine all young people just want to put their money in crypto. Take all the Naira, exchange them to dollar, put them to crypto. What will happen to exchange rate? We will all be in big mess. We will all be in big mess. So it's important for us to know this. The question you raise is very important, and I am aware that Security and Exchange Commission is also playing that role this moment today. Whether people are aware or not, it's a different conversation.
Wow. I'm just listening, and I hope everyone at home is listening and you're gleaning from everything that we're talking about, because it's very, very important. I remember you have already told us on this table, you have explained to us how much money we lost as a people. Over 4 trillion naira. And you said that if we now add inflation and all those other indices, we're looking at it over 8 million naira.
Oh, 8 trillion. 8 trillion naira. Some states don't have that money.
For where? Thank you. You know, I keep hearing these numbers and it's mind-boggling. And I'm wondering, but we say we don't get money. Nigerians still thought we are poor. At least I know that everybody still says, I am struggling.
I'm struggling.
I am. Please, I am. But, Mr. Paul, where is this money coming from? Because everybody seems to be saying, oh, things are tight. People are operating under scarce measures to be able to make ends meet. Where salaries are not increasing, cost of living is going high. But yet, somebody was able to skim this much from us Nigerians in these dire circumstances. Mr. Paul,
well, the money is everywhere. We all have money. If you check our devices here this morning, I don't know how much that device costs, but maybe I will say $1,000. If it's $1,000, a barrel of crude oil is how much? It's less than $70. Let's say $700. That is 10 barrels of crude oil you place in front of you. So when you say that you have no money, we really have monies. The challenge we have is that we've not been able to harness our money correctly. I see a lot of beautiful ladies. I'm sorry, this lady show, so let me relate with them. You carry on weave on that is 2 million naira.
It's not us. It's talking about
no, it's not you. Let me say 1.6. let me say 1.6 million. That's about $1,000 on your air. So when you convert that to $70, it may not necessarily be plot of land, but it's better because Nigeria produces crude oil. So if you say 1,500 for people who watch, $1,000 divided by $70, that's a volume of crude oil Nigerian ladies are carrying around looking beautiful.
Excuse me, Paul,
now, here is where I'm going.
Very loud because we have to go on the break.
Yes, okay, so here is where I'm going. Imagine countries that are producing, businesses, not even country, producing this, producing the phones, producing the jotter, producing, so convert that to all manner, convert them to crude oil, and check what Nigeria is using as medium of getting effects predominantly. Ours is so narrow. So you might have crude, but you think other countries don't have. But because we hopelessly depend on those countries for
and importation,
everything, yes, so it's weighed us down. Now here is it. We still have Nigeria that have the money, life savings. People have vehicle. Put in your vehicle, you sell them, then you quickly want to put it in something you hope will give you double in the next 2 months or 1 week or so. Then at the end of the day, nobody knew that the other guy was actually trying to gather capital and disappear to the other side of the world. Very few of them do this ignorantly. Many of them are doing it looking at the algorithm and the numbers that if we do this, at least within a year, we can, within 6 months, we can clean out with 500 billion naira.
And go and buy second citizenship.
By citizenship, how much will it cost? Even by land. Citizenship by property. You buy land, you get that, then you set up business, you move the entire family out of Nigeria. Before we know it, they say, well, some banks are folded up. I don't want to mention the name of any bank. And you see them in another country enjoying their lives.
Let's pause.
Whether we want to do anything is a different conversation.
There's a lot of layers in this conversation. We'll be right back after this. Stay with us. Our guest today is Paul Alaje. He's a leading economist and public affairs analyst whose voice has shaped national conversations on policy, poverty, and the economy. So, Paul, thank you once again for joining us. I like this part where we landed on sort of like the amount of money that's outside and hearing that adjusting for inflation, Nigerians have lost upwards of 8 trillion to Ponzi schemes. And I want to flip it a little bit. But first, recently it was reported that the total value of currency outside Nigeria's banking system rose to 4.6 trillion naira in March 2025, accounting for around 91.9% of the 5 trillion naira in total currency in circulation during the period. And this is, of course, coming from the latest money and credit statistics released by the Central Bank of Nigeria, which highlights the country's sustained dependence on physical cash despite the government's cashless policy push. And we've been cashless for over a decade now, I think, but it still seems like it's not working. So part one of my question is, what conclusions can we draw from this information about cash outside of circulation in terms of how Nigerians feel about the financial system, but throwing it back to how much we have been willing to invest into Ponzi schemes? If Nigerians trusted the financial system and invested that amount of money into it, what would we have seen? What would be different about maybe the economy or even the country?
We need to mind what matters and mind less on what does not matter. If you take antibiotics, you are perhaps trying to cure ailments. Nigeria decided to devalue, and you are wondering why your money in circulation is growing. It's simple. And I wonder those who are actually advising us. If this journal or this notebook used to be 5 naira, now after the currency has been devalued, it's now 15 naira. Now the same with your house rent, the same with your car, the same with your edu, the same with your television, the same with groceries. What does it mean? You will need more money now. All of us will now need more money outside the banking system for our daily transaction.
And we had issues getting the money out for around a year because of some decisions.
You know, banking outside is not necessarily cash. It's not necessarily cash. The money that you have not saved outside banking sector, it's not necessarily that you carry it as cash. Now, here is it. All of us now understand that it is important for us to be liquid. Why? Because things are expensive. How do we respond to this? We raise MPR, monetary policy rate. What does it mean? MPR is that decision that is taken by Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank, among other people that are appointed by Mr. President of Nigeria, to say we need to increase how much lending rates. Technically, it's called lending rate. What does it mean? Usually, banks benchmark their lending rate they give to businesses and individual needs. So if the MPR is higher, what do you think bank will lend more? Will they increase their rates or they lend to people or reduce? They will increase. If they increase, what does it mean to businesses? Will businesses employ more people or employ less people?
Less.
They will employ less people because that will discourage investment, and not investment in portfolio or buying bond shares. It's actually going to encourage portfolio investment, because government, when it raises interest rates, when people borrow from government in treasury bill and bond, more people will come. So government will now have more money to finance our budget.
But
However, the businesses, we have less money to invest in in businesses, real business. And when you are not investing in businesses, what happens to employment? It will reduce. Now, here is it. But people still need money. People need to live. People need to buy things. That is why, over the time, central banks, successive central bank administration, have continued to increase interest rates, but we have not seen the impact on inflation. That's one. Two, we have also continued to see increase in money outside the banking sector. And to my shock, I'm surprised that people are shocked. Those that should know are shocked that the money outside banking sector is increasing. And I'm saying, listen, if you want things to normalize, you can run your econometrics model, and it will show you what exchange rate should be and what energy prices should be. I give you one of the research we conducted, I think around January. It revealed that if exchange rate were to be 1,000 to 1,100 marks, and cost of PMS, for instance, using that, is around 700 to 710, inflation will drop. Confidence level, which is around the topic we're having today, confidence level in Naira will boost. Why are we all seated? I'm not even touching anything. She's not touching anything. She's not touching anything. We believe that the chairs we are on can carry our weight. Now, people have concerns. If I keep my money in Naira for so long, am I sure I will be able to buy the same thing? Therefore, people now have more money. Let me buy it today, even though I may not need it now, which is not good for banking. True. So even though I may not need it, there's a concept in Turkey. Many years back, they call it the washing machine concept. When Turkey was having this kind of problem, the citizens of Turkey started buying washing machine because they know that the value is stored. No matter what inflation is, people will buy washing machine at that rate. The same thing when people carry their Naira and buy dollar and keep it. I'm happy that that is changing now, because it was a horrible situation we found ourselves when we were literally joining advocacy with government to say that you are killing Nigeria when you keep your money in the dollar. It's not wrong to earn in the dollar. Please, can you have businesses you are doing in hard currency, so that let's assume that you have something that people have to pay you in hard currency, let it come to Nigeria. It is better than you just taking your cash, take it and exchange it and hope that all will be well. You are part of the problem.
Well, there's so many things I'm listening, because you've answered a little bit of my own question as well, because is it, what's in the near future, with all the things that are happening now, with all the losses that people have, experienced, do you actually think that they would begin to trust the system again? Because I don't know, in Nigeria, from my own experience, I always say in Yoruba, "Lala toroke, kokin wale in Nigeria." That means that anything that goes up in Nigeria,
it comes down.
It never obeys
the law of physics.
No, we defy it. So, with all these things, do you think that people would be able to trust the system again? Because as it is, it's keep happening in quick successions. It's not like we are taking a break. Because some people, you'd be surprised that somebody has lost, maybe in all these 30 ones that we wrote down, somebody has lost from 15. Well, and these are not the only Ponzi schemes. People are even using land and all other funny things.
I'll speak on two sides. First is, last week I saw some people advertising a new Ponzi scheme. And they were advertising it on the mass media platform.
Coming soon.
Unfortunately, many people don't know that what they are getting into is a Ponzi scheme. Already, I saw that by myself, and the people are putting a lot of energy. Many years back, I think around when MMM crashed, there is a man, a religious person, even put his face on a Ponzi scheme, hoping that he will gather the money and all those. So we need beyond SEC and CBN, we also need Security and Exchange Commitment, not Security and ARCON. That's the organization in terms of advice. So know that there are Ponzi schemes. And perhaps when they start seeing some things, and I've said the solution is this: before you start any form of investment, get clearance from SEC before you. Because if you go to CAC, you may be tempted not to go to SEC, but go to SEC first, then you go to CAC. Then we can manage up to about 90% what we have. You will still have some black sheep here and there, but it will not be as
sanitize the majority.
as we have now. So that's it. You're also looking at people having confidence. So if you're looking at confidence in financial sector, what people look at is stability. Nigerians are particularly about stability, and it's not just us. You see, in macroeconomics, there are several indicators to know whether the health of your economy. For human beings, they want to check your blood pressure, they want to check your heart rate, they want to check your portrait level, they want prostrate level, they want to check a number of things. For economy, there are things to check.
Can you hold on? Before you tell us what we check, let's go for a quick timeout. Time is almost up already, but we must get on this. What do we need to know about the health status of our economy, and what are the things we need to check as well? Stay with us. As I tell you many times, our conversations off air are much more exciting than the ones on air, but we do what we can. Right before the break, our guest, Chief Economist of SPM Professionals, Paul Alaje, was telling us about how we check the stability and the health of our economy. Those are the things that people will look to be able to trust the economy. If we can go through that very quickly, we don't have a lot of time.
No. First is, what is happening to your GDP? Is it growing? Is it reducing?
Is it stagnating?
Yes, that one, yes.
If your GDP is growing, you need to not just say, oh, we have growing GDP. No, you compare with your population growth rate. Your GDP should be at least double of your population growth rate.
But our own is not.
Ours is about 3%, and population growth rate is close to 3%.
Okay.
So it's slightly above, but that's not enough. You now need to check your inflation. Inflation global rate is about 2 to 3%. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria in 2016, 2017, 18, 19 to 20 agreed that inflation in Nigeria is high and it should be between 6 to 9%. But what we are doing now is over 30%. But we quickly rebased to bring inflation down, even after rebasing to 24%, even though originally it's 34%, we rebased to 24%. It came down to 23%, now gone back to 24%. Mark you, the rate it should be is 6, maximum 9% single digit. Wow. Then we have unemployment. Now, unemployment is a different conversation that I even don't know how to discuss it. Why? Because when you talk unemployment, unemployment should be between 2 to 3% again. And in Nigeria, it used to be 33%. Until we said no. What were we using? We're changing, yes. We call it the methodology. The methodology was that if you cannot get a job up to 4 hours a day, that's 20 hours a week. The government changed it and said, now we want to use 1 hour a week. What does that mean? After this show, if you say you have worked for the week, that's okay. That means you're employed. That's the new methodology. But that's the new methodology. That if you work 1 hour a week, then that reduces our unemployment to 4%, still above the target 2 to 3%. Then you also check exchange rate. Your exchange rate is about stability. How stable is this exchange rate? Is it oscillating between 1,500 to 1,600, or is it predictable? I give you a country that has a very predictable exchange rate, United Arab Emirates. It has remained 3 dirhams 65 over the last 10 years, 15 years, 3.65 dirhams to the dollar. If you're in that economy, you can predict, you can plan, you can do many things because it is so predictable. Now, it takes a lot of work for you to predict. Your foreign reserve should be huge, and you should be able to do a number of things with it. So it's not that sometimes government just say devalue. I've been one of the persons that have criticized devaluation or floating, not really devaluation, floating the currency. But I'm happy now that one of the persons in government have said, oh yeah, we have seen it, but now we have kept it to be a managed float. So we are not just going to leave it to float, because I warned in August. I said, listen, if you devalue your currency, there will be nothing, it will float away. And I said, wait, by March 2024, exchange rate will be 1,500. Everybody in government said, no, you are a prophet of doom, it cannot happen. That was August 2023. You know what happened? January 2024, it went to 1,900. So it started making sense.
And a lot of us thought it was actually going to hit 2,000.
Yeah.
Now, there were things that could be done, which were being done at that time. I remember I granted a few interviews and I wrote in the newspaper, what can we do? Because if it gets to 2,000, if it gets to 1,900, I have no benefits. as a person, the only passport I have is the Nigerian passport. So it does not pay me in any way. And I've not stacked dollar like many people have done, you know, to say,
hedge against
to hedge against it. And my interest is Nigeria. So, but I'm happy that we're able to make a little gain, even though we are back to 1,600, 1,580.
Yeah.
But where we should be is actually 1,000 to 1,100. How soon we will get there, I don't know. Are we ever going to get there? I don't know. But when you look at these parameters, you can tell what is happening to the health of the economy. You also need to look at trade surplus, you know, trade.
Yeah.
Are we getting surplus? Are we not having surplus? I saw IMF reports recently on the Nigerian economy and that of World Bank. World Bank seems to support the policy of government. IMF say, yeah, you have taken bold decision, but I'm sorry, it's not having impact in life of people. But summarily, as economists, you know us by three things. One is how accurate is our prediction of any economy where we find ourselves. That's how you know an economist. Two, are we promoting welfare of our people? That is, all the advice, what you're giving, is not just because you want to satisfy economic theory, but is for the welfare of the people. Thirdly, which is the most important, how relatable are we as economists? It's not that you are speaking above the head of people, or you just want people to just know that you are talking. But most importantly, people can apply it in their lives, they can apply it in their businesses, and we can also advise the government of our country to do the right thing, which is, again, the essence of being an economist, especially macro, monetary, or fiscal policy makers at the end of the day.
So we have an issue here. There's no more time. And what I have unilaterally decided is that next time we have Mr. Paul Alaje, he starts with us from the very beginning.
Yeah,
there's no point. Because he's an icebreaker.
Yes.
But first, let's start with this. We start with you from the very beginning. Because there's still issues that we want to touch base on. I've heard you say that poverty is vulnerability, that when you're poor, you're vulnerable. And we need to address how many millions of Nigerians are poor and how that makes them vulnerable and how we want to switch that around. But we have to wrap things up here because time is gone.